Hi everyone, here is my presentation for the Generation Cohort group discussion. I chose to work on Generation X, and here we go. Generation X. Generation X is defined as people that were born between the years 1965 and 1980. So that would mean they range between the ages of 41 and 56. As of 2021, Gen X makes up 19.9% of the US population, or roughly 65 million people. They actually make up the smallest percentage of the population among the four main generation cohorts, meaning among baby boomers, Generation X, Millennials, and Gen Z. Gen X is the smallest of the four. My parents are actually Gen X, as my dad was born in 1975 and my mom in 1976. I am 25 years old. I technically belong between Millennials and Generation Z. I'm 1998. They were really young when they had me, and I'm also the oldest of three. I have pictured here the main cast from the movie The Breakfast Club, which is supposed to be a very accurate, a very good actually not accurate, but a very satirical, stereotypical representation of the Gen X generation when they were in high school. This was set. The setting is featuring kids that were of that age. Another movie that would have been set in a time like this would have been the Rocky movies, all based on people that were of the Gen X generation. And even the kids in Stranger Things, with the years the setting is taking place, those kids would actually be considered Generation X. Now let's talk about their shopping behaviors. According to J.P. Arnaud Marquez of Loop Returns, Gen X are more practical if not particular shoppers. I can't speak today. They still prefer a mix of brick and mortar and mobile shopping. Most Gen Xers prefer to learn about new products by researching them online, through traditional advertising like TV ads, and while shopping in person. Though 66% use their mobile phone to shop, they prefer to find items through multiple channels. Gen X likes to spend their money carefully and are often looking more so at the functionality of the product rather than aesthetics. Gen X is commonly referred to as the forgotten generation, as they are often overlooked in the marketing world in favor of the baby boomers and millennials, which are a much more larger demographic. So yeah, they get a good mix of how marketers aim at baby boomers and how marketers aim at millennials. They get kind of a hybrid version of that. Okay. Now, the differences between Generation X and the previous generation baby boomers vary. Gen X differs greatly from the previous generation, their parents, the boomers. While boomers are familiar with modern technology, they often shy away from it and prefer to shop in stores. They're even perceived as being scared to shop online. And judging by the boomers that I know, that's accurate. On the other hand, Gen X are more tech savvy and do not shy away from shopping online. However, most Gen Xers still prefer to shop in brick-and-mortar stores. It is widely accepted that baby boomers are the wealthiest of the four main cohorts. This means that they have the highest spending power to purchase products without a sale or bargain being warranted. It is reported that baby boomers will even shop simply because it calms them down. They see it as it's relaxing. That must be nice, having that kind of money. Whatever. Meanwhile, Gen X is seen as a more practical generation where they tend to focus on the functionality of the product before purchasing rather than the aesthetic. I did state that before. They seem to be very, very frugal and they do a lot of research before purchasing things. While boomers are extremely hesitant to shop somewhere new or purchase new products they are unfamiliar with, marketers tend to keep advertising products to boomers via in-store, as opposed to Gen X, who can be marketed both digitally and in real life. Gen X is often the source of the infamous Karen videos, as they often are the culprits of the dissatisfaction with customer service. I actually thought those were the boomers that were the main source of entertainment from those videos, but it actually ends up being Generation X. Who knew? Both boomers and Gen X share this trait as they come from a time when customer service was considered superior. What I would call the customer is always right era. We're not really in an era of that anymore. The main way to market to Gen Xers is by email marketing. That seems to be the go-to for most marketers these days and how to market and advertise to that demographic. According to marketers, Generation X can be reached by email marketing. Email marketing is defined as a form of marketing that can make the customers on their email list aware of new products, discounts, and other services. It can also be a softer sell to educate your audience on the value of your brand or keep them engaged before purchases. Marketers could adjust their strategies in advertising to Gen X even further by making these emails stand out even more via creative license. They also could promote sales through the emails only that's mentioned before, but they could utilize that a little bit more, where instead of it being like maybe like a one-time thing, it's a recurring thing. Things like providing a certain code through just the email only to be able to get a certain huge sale on something just because they checked their email and they were able to pull it from that. Making the email more interactive for the tech savvy would also promote interaction with the product and the brand. I mean, yeah, boomers are not going to want to interact with are going to want to interact in the store. They're not going to want to interact through the technology because they shy away from it. But with Generation X being a very hybrid tech savvy and in-person generation, you could utilize the tech savvy aspect of it, especially because some of them would. It's not uncommon to see someone my parents' age order things online. My mom orders from Amazon all the time and many other stores as well. She actually hates going in-store shopping. Meanwhile, my dad, he likes going in-store and loves to be able to browse and pick things and ask if there's something, if they're able to, if he's able to order something online, and then at that point he would have my mom do it. But either way, they could marketers could really go if they wanted to cater to that a little bit more, they could. According to Bamboo HR, there are 5 characteristics of Gen Xers that set them apart from the rest of the cohorts. The main thing would be self-reliance. Because of a growing shift to a dual-income family structure as they were growing up, many Gen Xers were left home alone after school until their parents got off work, leading to yet another nickname for this group, the latchkey generation. The need to rely on themselves for entertainment and take responsibility for their time, as well as the lack of oversight granted later by mobile devices. Meaning Generation X is strongly associated with self-reliance. Many members of Generation X are seen as independent, preferring DIY solutions or to find answers to problems themselves. That's accurate coming from someone that has Generation X parents. These characteristics are from a human resource perspective. Not so much for marketing, but it was easy to find characteristics that catered to the types of people they were. Another characteristic they can cover is work-life balance. Gen X members are more likely to have well-defined working hours and take time off from work, with 31% of Gen X reporting that they take more than 10 days off a year compared to only 21% of millennials. Another good characteristic is that they experience financial pressure. Members of Gen X are more than likely caring for their aging parents while also having adult children at home, making them financially responsible for 3 generations. They are more likely to have credit card and student loan debt than generations before them. Because of this, Gen X members are more likely than boomers or millennials to believe they will have a harder time achieving financial security. I can attest to that, seeing how my parents have handled things over the years. One of the things they are is technologically adept. Again, they are tech savvy. Generation X were the first generation to come of age with personal computers, and they have lived through a rapid shift of technological advancements from the birth of the internet and email onward. They are not as tech dependent as millennials or Gen Z, but they are comfortable with the technology. At the same time, Gen Xers are some of the last people participating in pop culture to still be familiar with older technology such as rotary dial phones and mimeograph paper. I'm reading from my notes. The final characteristic that can really set them apart is they're very collaborative. Because they grew up in a time before smartphones and Google, Gen X is more likely to want to collaborate in person with coworkers to finish projects or solve problems. Other generations have described Gen X as cooperative. And yeah, that makes sense. All right, and here are my references to all the slides available here. I think that's it. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks. Bye.